I want to introduce you to the person who's going to make sure that you find the right team member out of this conference. Liz Faircloth is a management consultant background. She has years of experience building great teams. She comes here to join us. She is the founder of InvestHer, which is an awesome network, especially for women in real estate. And she's got a kick-ass multifamily syndication business that she's built with Matt Faircloth. So Liz, welcome to the Best Ever Conference. So excited to have you here.
Thank you, Ben. I'm so happy to be here. So excited to jump into the first day and talk about team building.
Awesome.
So, and I'm going to, in terms of the slide deck, I don't think I see the slide deck yet. So, but yeah, my name's Liz Faircloth. I'm so excited about being here. And I have a quick video to share with all of you. Again, Ben, thank you for having me. The whole Best Ever team for having me here. I have 20 minutes, so I want to kind of get into the content as quickly as I can because I have a lot to share with all of you. Quick video to share with you as we jump into this topic of team building. So if you can share that, that'd be awesome.
Narito na. Wimpo! Okay, pivotara. Pomelo?
Awesome. And for some reason, technical support here, guys, I'm sorry, I don't see the slide deck. So I'm having some technical difficulties. I'm so sorry. But I don't see the slide deck. So if someone can help me through that. Okay, awesome. Okay, perfect. So again, my name is Liz Faircloth. I'm going to be jumping in here and rocking and rolling here in terms of building a powerhouse team. So just getting technical stuff here ready here. I can't see. Okay. So as you see on the slide here, think about team building. You know, most times when we have experiences, we've all been on teams that have worked really well, and we have been all on teams, all of us have been on teams that have not worked so well. And as you can see, these two dogs are working really well together, right? Even the Minion movie, the Minion team building, you know, you could say that they were resourceful and they were working well and not so well, right? But then, you know, the best teams, right, start out working great, helping each other, and then what happens? This can happen, right? Fights happen, disconnects happen, and unfortunately, even in this game of real estate investing that we're all in this investing business, it can end in court, right? And it can get really ugly. And so what my purpose here today with all of you is to really share some very simple steps, 4 steps I'm going to share with you about really getting a sense of how do I build a team that lasts and that can help me as you navigate your own investing business. And that's the goal for today. All right. So again, my name is Liz Faircloth. I am I'm a real estate investor. I've been investing for about 15 years. Our focus, my husband and I, is mostly large multifamily. We have buildings in 4 different states, mostly on the East Coast. That's more of my real estate investing experience. I'm also a mom, a wife. I love to, see friends. That's a little harder these days, as we all know. And I'm also the co-founder of the Real Estate InvestHer community, which we're really focused on supporting women and empowering women, creating financial freedom. So enough about me. I want to get into our more of our things here. So I got 4 steps to share with you. Like anything, I'm all about and really creating, I'm all about like really making sure I help all of you think about yourself in this presentation, because that's really the goal here. Okay, so step 1, mapping out where you want to go. So many times people are like, well, who should I have on my team? But you really haven't figured out what your short-term goals are and what your long-term goals are. So that's really number 1, and that's really critical as you think about what you're trying to achieve and where you're headed. So that's number 1. Before we get into who you need to have on your team, mapping out where you really want to be, and not just short-term, but long-term. I'm a big fan of 1, 3, and 5-year goals. And once you start to think strategically where you want to be, where you are today, you start to like strategically think about who and how you can really create a powerhouse team. But that's number 1, and that's critical. So again, keep that in mind as step number 1. And I'm going to try to give you some action steps. So the action takeaway here is to really, if you have not mapped out where you want to be 1, 3, 5 years. Do that, because that's really going to help dictate as you build your team. Here's in terms of step 2 here. Step 2 is really about taking a personal inventory. So like Ben had mentioned, for many years I was a management consultant, and so much of what we did was really help people think about how do we build the right teams in the company and across the board, doing the right sort of tasks. And so many times, I'm sorry, I advanced too quickly, getting ahead of myself. Step 2 is all about taking a personal inventory. If you're here at this conference, and again, this is an amazing conference, you've got to take advantage of it. Even being virtual, you're going to be able to network with people, just like Ben said. You have money to give, people have deals to give, and just kind of seeing where the connections are, right? And honestly, real estate investing is a team sport. So when you think about really creating that right team from where, again, mapping out where you want to be, take a personal inventory. In other words, what do you bring to the table? And I don't care if you have 15 years of experience in investing or you have 0 days investing in experience in investing. You bring something to the table. And I really need to make sure you get that, because you do. You bring something in your skills, your experience. We're going to get into like, how do you really define what you bring to the table? But all of these are examples of things you can bring to the table. Assets. Your time is an asset, right? Your skills, your experience, your personality. I'm going to get to that. So again, what do you bring to the table? More importantly, from a personal perspective. And once you start to get that insight, do that first. You're not going to build a team without having done that, because what would happen is that anyone will work. And anyone with a warm body could be a good partner for you. And you don't want that. It has to be the right person that complements. And we're going to get to that in a moment. So that's number 2. You've mapped out where you want to go, short-term and long-term. Step 2 is all about taking that personal inventory. And that's a deep dive. And we don't have time to get into that today, but it's a deep dive. And I highly recommend you take a half a day, quiet time, no kids, no partners, no craziness happening in the world, and spend that time really digging deep on what you bring to the table. Regardless of your experience in investing, you bring something great to the table. So just keep in mind, that's really critical. Okay, step number 3. Step number 3 is all about determining who you need to meet your goals and vision. Just like step number 1. So many times people make the mistake of, they meet people at networking events, right? And they're like, oh, this is and sometimes we like people like us. And that's sometimes the worst people to have on your team. So this is really important as a step. Determine who you need to take you where you want to go. If you said, okay, I want to build a multifamily syndication business, that's my experience. So I'm going to give you kind of an example here of almost like a 4 roles on the multifamily kind of, team, if you will. We've been investing, like I said, for 15 years. We started with a duplex, and our last purchase last year was a 336 unit apartment complex. So, we've scaled over the years. We've learned a lot and we did everything ourselves, right, when we started. But as you learn and you grow and you scale, you can't do everything yourself. You don't want to do everything yourself because you're not great at everything. No one is. So a couple of things. Number 1, you got the hunter. You have somebody who's going to look for new deals, right? Acquisitions, very important in today's crazy market that's very hot. Then you have the brains. Okay, they're putting the business plan together. Every project, whether you're in self-storage investing or you're in multifamily or you're in something else creative, there's so many different niches in this business. It takes a business plan, right? What are we going to do to add value and really put the plan in place? The third role, or the third kind of person or team, if you will, because this could be a team, is the money. Unless you just have a lot of money yourself, which is awesome, good for you. But a lot of people syndicate deals so they can bring on other limited partners and get into larger projects. That's kind of how we've grown. We have over 120 investors now. We've only been able to get into larger stuff with other people and other passive investors. So that's a critical role, right? And then you have the executor, the hammers, as we call it. My husband and I use this terminology a lot. And this is really the execution, right? You can have the best plan, you've found the great deal, but quite honestly, you're going to make or break your project in the execution. We all know that. The best deal can go south, if you don't execute on timeline, on money, and on that business plan. So again, this is very simplistic, but these are 4 roles, As we grow our own syndication business, that's very critical to have. Right now, we have 1 or 2 acquisitions people. As we grow, we may need to bring more people into that fold. Again, the bottom line here to think about is, what is your goal? Now, that's our goal. Our focus is multifamily. You might be in a different niche that may have 4 different roles than this. I don't know. My point in saying this is you got to know what those roles are, and you got to know where you fit in. So as you watch this and say multifamily is a focus for you, where do you fit in? And sometimes when you're starting out, you're in all 4 of these. But you also, as you grow, you need to start to think, where do I best fit? And that's where we're going here in a second here. So what are your strengths and what are your gaps? I think a great leader is always able to really think about and get really clear with themselves to say, where are my strengths and where are my gaps? And again, you're mapping out your goals, you're figuring out what your greatness is. There's skills, there's experience, and there's personality. Most people, when they're building a team, make the cardinal mistake of forgetting about the power of personality. They just look at skills, they look at experience. I have money, you don't, or I have the deal, you don't, and they jump into partnership. And I can't tell you how important personality is. And that's where I want to talk about for number 4. Finding people to gain alignment and leverage diversity. So I always like to say, what is the biggest mistake when building a team? Biggest mistake, there's a lot of mistakes. I've lived a lot of the mistakes. The biggest mistake is the lack of alignment and a lack of diversity. Where do you need to be aligned? You need to be ironclad on your values, your goals, what you as a team really where you want to go and what you value. I can't speak how important values are critical when you're building a team. Where you need to be, then that's alignment. That's kind of alignment. Diversity is all about knowing where you need to bring something different to the table. We talk a lot about different skills, different experience. I mean, everyone watching this knows how important that is. But we don't think enough of personality differences, because usually I think about the people that we've partnered with over the years, or teams that I used to work with in my corporate days, or even my teams today as I'm involved in a number of different businesses. I think about the teams that work really well, have this criteria, have this kind of recipe, if you will. And the recipe is complete alignment on values, complete alignment, not even like a little different on values. Like that needs to be literally ironclad on how connected you need to be on where you're headed, where you're going, and what you value. I just can't speak enough about that, because that has been a reason some of our teams have not worked out, because people don't have the same values. But the diversity part is the next piece. You need to have that diversity. You need it. Okay. I used to do exercises when I ran team buildings and worked with a lot of my clients back in the day. And something I always did was I always put a similar group of people together and a diverse group of people together. And you know who got the project done faster and more efficiently? The diverse group. Because the similar style group always ran over each other, right? And we're going to get into personality in a second. So I cannot stress how important it is to have a diverse team: skills, experience, personality. Okay. So what do you see here? I know I can't see all of you physically, but virtually, all right, I want you to say it in either, if there's a chat box functionality here, or just, to yourself, right? What do you see there? People see a bunny, they see a duck, right? What do you see there? People often see a mouse or a man's face. And then this is a very interesting picture. People see a lot of different things, but often people see animals, they'll see surfers, depending on where you live. I see a lot of snow, because all it is doing is snowing in the Northeast lately. But other people see the face of Jesus, right? So people see a lot of different things. Bottom line is that what you see of the world is different than everyone else. And when you're building a powerhouse team, you need to leverage personality. People often don't think about the importance of that. They think, oh, it's nice to know your personality. It's a fun little game that we have. And we know that this person's an extrovert and this person's an introvert. And now let's go back to getting work done. No. In terms of the decade and the teams I work with over the years, and even in my own personal teams now as an entrepreneur, I cannot stress how important leveraging personality is in really building that powerhouse team. So this is a tool that I had the most familiarity with. It's not a tool I work with directly anymore, but I highly recommend you take a personality assessment if you have not. And the people you're looking to partner with, that you take something together. Can't stress that enough. This is called the predictive index, the one that I used to work with and consult on. Phenomenal assessment. I'm not going to go through it very deeply. I don't have the time to do that, and my time with all of you. What I will say is that every assessment measures very similar things. This measures dominance, extroversion, patience, and formality. You need to know where you are on this continuum to the T. You need to know your strengths. You need to know your blind spots. You need to know when you talk too much. You need to know when you talk too less, so to speak. You need to know if you're super cautious. You need to know if you're just jump in and figure it out type of person. You need to know if you where you are in risk tolerance. Are you a risk taker? Are you cautious? You need to know all those things to the T so that you can build that diverse team. Because I cannot stress how important it is. If you are a very task-oriented person, literally all you think about is driving tasks. You're more task, you're more technical. You don't like a lot of chit chat. The virtual summit is perfect for you because you don't need to see people. If that's you, right? Be honest. You need to, not need to, but it would be a great compliment to you to have a more people-oriented person in growing your team, especially if you're looking to raise funds and those sort of things. And I can go through all these differences. There's two things you want diversity on. Task, if you're task or people, or if you're a cautious person or you're a risk taker. Okay, and I'm not going to keep going here too deeply, but the key here is to know your personality assessment results to the T, know your blind spots, know where your gaps are, know what you do very well, and then complement that with other people, anyone that you're looking to partner with or team to work on a team. Because the bottom line is that you're going to like people like you. If you're analytical and very technically oriented, you're going to like people like you. And those are maybe the wrong people for you to work with. If you're a very friendly person and you like talking to people, you're going to connect with people like that. Those may not be the right people for you either. Okay. So again, my challenge to you is to get out there, take something like this, any assessment tool. There's a lot of good ones out there. I know this one the best, and have your partners and your team take that. People often ask me, how do I find people, right? This is all great, Liz, and I get it, right? So map out my goals and figure out what I bring to the table, and then obviously, who do I need to have, especially like if you're in the multifamily space. All right, I see myself as the acquisitions. I really need to find that person who can raise money, and I really need that executor. So you really get excited. You can see it. You start to see where your strengths are, your gaps are. My point in saying rock stars, no rock stars, there's a lot of strategies out there on how to actually find people. And it's a little harder. You've got to work a little harder now in the world that we're in, right? You can't just go to the local meetups all the time physically, right? So much of it's virtual. You've got to work a little harder at it. But I will tell you, you know some amazing people in your circles. I don't care, again, if you have 1 day of experience in investing or if you have 15 years, you know some great people in your sphere of influence. And I always say rock stars, no rock stars. Great people, no great people. And it's a great place to start as you build out your network. And you say, okay, I know I'm here. I really need this type of person. The more clarity you have, the better you're going to be. And I can't stress that enough. Don't just jump into partnerships because they have money and you don't. That's like way too quick. You got to do the due diligence on who you are, where the gaps, and fill them in, and really be honest with yourself. Be authentic. Team building is a process of looking in the mirror, right? It takes hard work. I've had to a lot of times look myself in the mirror and say, hey, I could have done that better. I can give you more of this. Hey, why did we have a disconnect the other day? So you can continue to build. That's a whole other presentation, right, on how to actually maintain the team. But I hope today was helpful. There's a lot to share in this topic and what have you, but I hope today was useful and helpful. I have a minute to spare too, which I'm quite happy about.
Liz, thank you so much for that. So Liz Faircloth from the Real Estate InvestHer and the DeRosa Group. There you have it, folks. You have some homework already. She just gave you some homework. Do some introspection. Consider who you are and what you need, who you aren't, and what would fill the gaps in your strengths and weaknesses and bring diversity to your team. Now, 4 years ago, I was a lone ranger in the real estate world, and the Best Ever Conference brought me my business partners today. Whitney Sewell and Sam Cook 3 years ago met at the Best Ever Conference. So even if you don't know a rock star, even if you don't consider yourself a rock star, first of all, let's question that. Second of all, now you're in a virtual room of hundreds of other people who either are the rock stars to meet your needs as a business partner or know thousands of people on LinkedIn who are also looking for their next step in life. So Liz, thank you so much for joining us this morning.